Good morning. I'm just checking that we are live, and it looks like we are. Excellent. Okay, so welcome. I'm live this week on a Thursday instead of Wednesday. Wednesday sort of got away from me at the start of the month. So I'm not sure if anyone will be coming in, but we will. I'm going to have a little bit of fun creating. So if you do come in, I am watching the chat over on my other computer here, so please say hello. And now you will, I believe you will need to, and there's Brenda. Hello, Brenda. I believe you'll need to be a subscriber. Oh, not be a, maybe, no, I don't think you need to be a subscriber, but you would need to be logged into YouTube, I think, to be able to comment. So if you can't, that's why you'll need to log in. How are you, Brenda? Oh, what's the weather like in beautiful Canada? I have been watching a friend of mine has been visiting over there, and I've been looking at her photos, and the weather has been absolutely glorious. Hello, Barb. How are you? Barb from sunny Queensland. I hope it's lovely weather up there too. It is a gorgeous day here today. It's a spring day, a South Australian spring day, so lots of sunshine. Hence the light. I've shifted, you may have noticed. If you notice all these weird backgrounds, it's because my craft room, which is behind these doors here, is being renovated. And so I'm out in the living area, and I've just shuffled over a bit so that my wonderful, lovely husband can't walk behind me all the time. So I was sort of in a walkway before, and now I'm shuffled over into the corner. It's hot and sunny. That's what the photos that I saw looked like. Very sunny and lovely, yes. Excellent. Because you are in summer, whereas we're in the first few days of spring here in this southern hemisphere. All right, so I'm going to just show you what we're doing today. So let's have a look at this one. I'm creating for the Colour Inspiration Challenge, which I'm part of the design team. The colours they're using for this challenge, which finishes I think next week on Monday. So it's Soft Seafoam, Fresh Freesia, Calypso Coral and Secret Sea. And you can either take your inspiration from that image, or you can just use the colours in any way you like. You can use metallics, you can use neutrals such as black, white, crumb cake, grey. Neutral colours are allowed to be used as well. So I always have a lot of fun creating with this one, and today we're going to change it up because I already have actually created for this one and put a photo up in that Facebook group. I did, I believe, put all the details for that one. Hello, Monica. How are you? I did put all of the details for that one in the comments of the YouTube, I believe. So for sure, if you'd like to join, it's really easy. Just head on over there and upload your photo to the page and join us for the challenge, which does finish next Monday, this particular one. So let's have a look at what I created already, and then I'm going to change it around a bit today. I think like a little bit of a change. So let me see if I can put some light on, make sure we are focused correctly. That looks pretty good. So this is the card that I created. As you can see, the Fresh Freesia was the focus of the card. We have little touches of Calypso Coral in the center of those flowers, Soft Seafoam for the leaves, and then the image is actually stamped in Secret Sea and the sentiments in Secret Sea. So that's how I interpreted the challenge first time round. I am using, now I'm very late to the party with the Layers of Beauty because this is the first time I've used it. It's been out for a long while and I've had it for a long while. This is the Layers of Beauty stamp set. It comes with the dies, and it also comes with a set of masks if you buy the entire bundle. It's fabulous to work with, and I don't know why I didn't work with it before. Thank you, Brenda. Why I haven't worked with it before, but I am trying to get use out of all of these stamps that I have here and haven't used. So this was a lot of fun, and we're going to do something a little bit different with it today. So with this one, I just used basic white cardstock and used the masks to apply the colour. I did add, I don't know if you can see it, but I did add a little bit of Calypso coral in the centre with watercolour pencils, just to give it some more depth in the centre of the roses. But we're going to do something a little different today. And why are we doing something a little different? Because yesterday I could not find this stamp set anywhere. After I used it last time, we had a lot of things going on, and the shifting of the work area here to the other side of the room, and somehow or other the stamp set went missing. After 2 hours of looking, searching through rubbish bins, blaming the dog, I gave up, and I thought, what else can I do using just the dies and the masks? And I thought, I'll do a little bit of watercolouring. I'll watercolour them and make them look a bit wishy-washy, watercolory, and then I won't need the outline stamp. Let's try that. So I'll go and get my watercolour pencil, shall I? So off I trotted, got my watercolour pencils, and I store my watercolour pencils in these sort of cases. So you can imagine what happened next. I picked up all my watercolour pencils. They come in, I put them in a case like this. I picked them all up, and here was the Layers of Beauty stamp tucked in amongst the watercolour pencils. So crisis averted, but it did give me an idea for doing something a little bit different today. Now I'm hoping that my sound is good. I have my volume turned up. I did get some feedback that it was very low last time, so I might just put it up a little bit. Is that, now Brenda, I think you said it was soft last time too, so I'm just putting it up. So is that too loud, or is that better? There are so many settings that you have to watch. So hopefully that might be didn't blast you all off the off your chairs. All right, so let's get started. Now I've decided to change this all around totally, just to see what different sort of vibe. This is soft, this is pretty. It's not really like the perfect, thank you Brenda. It's not really like the graphic that came with it. It's much softer, very busy, lots of foliage and stuff going on. So I'm going to try and make a slightly more elegant card with different vibes today, and I'm going to use Secret C, which was one of the other colours, as my base layer. So I'm going to, actually you can see I'm going to get a very different look. So the first thing I did with this card was I stamped the very large stamp that comes in that set. I've got it on the very largest block all over the front of the card to get this this look here. Now I haven't made this card yet. I've just had it in got it in my head. I know what I'm doing, I think, but we may have to change things up as we go along depending on what happens. That's much better, thank you Monica. All right, so I'm going to use the Secret C ink to stamp this, and let's see if it shows or if it just fades into nothingness. We shall see. So let's, I've got Secret C ink here. Let us quickly ink this up, get it nice and inked. And I just stamped it randomly all over the front of the card. Give it a bit of pressure. And repeat. It's showing up quite nicely. I like it. And we'll just tuck this one down into here. And then we'll fill in this gap. Oh, now I had a different piece of paper set aside for making this mess. Best laid plans. Now, which way will this fit better? Not to this way, and then we'll just tuck one into that. We'll just tuck one into this little empty space here. This bit. Doesn't really have to, it only has to be around the edges because the middle bit will get covered over. So, there we go. Got that up the right way, yep. Okay, so that's my little background piece done. I will just clean this off, otherwise I'll get very dark ink everywhere. And I do want to use this stamp again in a minute, but I will use it to stamp over my masked image, my stenciled, I call them stencils. Stampin' Up call them masks, I call them stencils. Alright, so I'll put that aside for a sec. And we will move on to, while I've got this out, this card here, I use the layers in the background. This is actually Fresh Freesia cardstock that I inked with Fresh Freesia ink just to get it to stand out more on the background, so we can do the same thing. So I've used the Textured Notes dies. They come as part of a bundle. So if you are looking at these ones, remember they're part of a bundle. We'll use this one for the white part and this one for the outside part. So it's just two side-by-side, so the second and the third levels. Now I have already die cut my Secret Sea piece. So that's that one. And you can see we can put it over there, but it doesn't, it shows that it's plain, but it doesn't really stand out all that much. So we will ink that up. Now, I don't really want to get a huge big mess on my sheet. And the Secret Sea ink does make a huge big mess, so I will grab some spare paper. Now I do have ink blending brushes, and I've got small ones because with that mask the small ones seem to work a little better, give you a little more control. I might actually just grab a block. Pick up some ink. And let's just apply that around the edge. Now not much shows, oops, not much shows, so you don't have to be too careful. Just go all the way around the edge. Try not to bend up your corners. This is me being ferocious blending. Need some more ink. It also brings out that the texture in the edge of the die really nicely. What have you missed? Not much, Barb. We stamped the very large image out of the Layers of Beauty. This one, all over the front of the card in the same coloured ink, which is Secret Sea. And it shows quite nicely, actually. I wasn't sure that it would, but it does. And now I am inking the edge of my panel to go behind the flowers, just so that it stands out a little bit from the background. You only need to go around the edges, because again, not much of that shows. Now it's a little hard, you can see there's a light bit in the middle, so you can see it has got a little bit darker. So, and you can see what I mean by the mess, it does make a big fat mess. So, all right, put this aside for a sec. Let's see what that looks like. Yes, that shows up much more defined now. Excellent. All right, so we'll put those aside and we will move on to our flowers. Oh, while I had these dies out, I have done this prior. I've cut the piece for here. Now, if you are just using basic white, you would just use basic white. I've got ink on my fingers. Wipe it on my jeans. You would just use basic white. I'm using watercolour paper today for something different. See, this one's used basic white. So because I'm using watercolour and the background shows behind the flowers, so I wanted it to look as much like blending in as possible, not totally different. So if I put white card under my watercolour paper, which I'm going to use for my flowers, you would see the white against the watercolour paper because they're slightly different colours. So just to keep it looking the same, I'm going to use a panel of my watercolour paper. So I've just die cut that the next smallest die out of the Fluid 100 watercolour paper. Okay, so that's my backgrounds ready to go. Side, and we will bring in the masks. Now, I'm using my stamp positioner to help me position my masks. You can just, they are very easy to position because they've got a great little notch on them. So you can use, just put them down on your work surface. But I just find this helps me get them right. Now here are your masks. Have I got them in order? See these little notches? That makes it very easy, and they are numbered. So now can you see they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Brilliant. So we'll start with 1, and I'm going to get rid of this photo polypropylene sheet. I'll just put this down in here and hold the mask down. So I'm putting it up into the corner. So that way I can position my masks quite easily. But if you're just going to put them down on the work surface without positioning them, have the number 1 up towards you and make a little notch here. Draw that little notch in, and then you'll be able to line them up quite easily. Without any issues. I didn't really have any issues lining them up, but it's really handy to have this square edge here to put them into. So we will start off with, I've got all my ink colours here. I need to put them on blocks, I guess. So let's quickly do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we've already got Secret C. All right, so we will need a little bit of Secret C. So I'll just pop a little bit of ink on there. Close this up so I don't get it everywhere. And ooh, which colour do I need the most of? Calypso Coral. I'm going to do Calypso Coral roses this time. So I'll put some ink on there. And a little bit of fresh Freesia. We don't need too much fresh Freesia, so I'll put it on the small block. Fair amount on there. And we will need soft Seafoam again for the leaves. So let's add some soft Seafoam ink to our block. Done. And I have ink blending brushes, and I've got the small ones. You can also use the sponge daubers, and I do have them here because I'm going to try and be very selective with where I put my colour. Now you'll notice that there are some little, I put some little dots on my masks, and that is so I can tell which ones make these little flowers around the edge. So my roses are going to be Calypso Coral, and I want to try and make my flowers to be fresh Freesia. So I tried to mark these up. You see some of them are quite close to the other colour. So if they intermingle a little bit, I'm not going to get really upset, but maybe the sponge daubers might work better. We'll see how we go, shall we? All right, so this is stencil number 1, and we're going to make that that's mainly our roses. So we'll do our roses first, and we will hit this up. Now, this is the reason that I like to use the blending brushes, because if you use the sponge daubers on this large one, you can get sort of patchy colour. Not that it really matters, because you put so many layers down, it doesn't matter. But anyway, we will, oh, what am I missing, girls? I'm going to stencil onto my grid paper. That's not going to work really well, is it? So I have a full sheet of the Fluid 100 watercolour paper, which is roughly the size of the mask. So you will have some left over. Now I'm going to have to draw a new little mark. Line that up. Well, that would have been nice. A checked flower we would have ended up with. So we'll just draw this thing in here again. Right. Now we're going to do this on... Oh, and I've forgotten another step. All right. We'll take that out for a minute. With my watercolour paper, when I'm going to be stamping onto it, which I am when I put the outline over it, it's got quite a bit of texture to it. This side's not too bad, that side's a little bit rougher, but what I like to do is run it through my die cutting machine. So I would use either a piece of photocopy paper or a piece of, I've got some dry release paper here. I'm going to put that over the top and put it through my standard cut and emboss machine. That way you won't get any, if you're using the paper on the top of it, you won't get any marks from your plate onto the top of the paper. But it does flatten it out a little, making it a little easier to stamp on. So see, I just ran it through with the paper on top. Get some marks on the back, that doesn't matter. I've got some sort of mark on there, but that might have been on there before. But that has flattened it out quite considerably. It just makes it a little bit easier when it comes to actually stamping, but you still get all the effects of watercolour paper that blends really well. So that's one thing I nearly forgot to do. Right, now we're back to where we were before. Make sure your cardstock is lined up in that little notch and up into the corner. Pop that down, and now we can apply some ink. So again, if you go straight in, you might end up with marks. So just take your excess ink off first, same as you would normally do. That mark is right in the middle of my flower. Oh well. So now I'm trying to miss this bit. This is the base layer, so you don't have to get it really dark. Trying to miss all these little bits with the dots. Let's come in here. Oh, I didn't take my excess off. Oh, that's right. It hasn't blobbed. Okay, so that's nice and dark. So we'll just try and get this one a little bit darker. Okay, that should be pretty good, I think. Right, and now we'll do these ones with the fresh Freesia. Now let's see if I can do this with the blending brush or whether I need to pull out the sponge dauber. You've forgotten your paper. Yes, it's like, you know, the old plays where the person stands in the background and yells, "He's behind you." Yes. Now, might be a bit tricky, that one. It's very close. Let's bring in our little sponge dauber here, and let's see. I find that the brushes work better because the bristles can get right down in, but for this one, which is so close, I think that one will be okay. The others might be alright with the brush. Let's see. This one should be. So let's go over here. These ones done. Yeah, this I think this particular, now this one I've got a lot of Calypso coral ink already on the mask, so you're probably going to get some contamination, but you know, it's nature. It's pretty cool. And now I might do these little tiny ones with the sponge dauber, so they're a little close. There we go. Ink in that one. All right. So that is our first layer done. With that line in there, but it'll cover over because we're going to do something with this at the end. So we won't stress too much about that right now. I'll put this aside and we'll go on with stencil number 2. Number 2. Pop it in here, make sure that the paper is up in the corner and the stencil's up in the corner, and then this should line up nicely down here, which it does. So next colour is again Calypso Coral with some, I've marked the stencil with some fresh Freesia. So we'll start with our Calypso Coral. And go over the top. So adding another layer of ink will give you some darker shading. Oops, just gone over the edge of one of my little flowers. Never mind, because we are going to add fresh Freesia to the roses at the end, so they'll all tie in. This one. Yes. Yes. That would have been a nice little, I would have hopefully realised that I had checks. Just going to get some more fresh Freesia ink. This ink pad obviously needs a little re-ink, and it is very light. Okay, so we'll do a little bit with the brush. And then I'll finish it off with the sponge dauber. Right, where are we? Sponge dauber. Do these little ones up here. This little one. This little one here. And then just in here where I've got a bit of Calypso coral, sort of cover that over. Now purple and orange normally make brown, so hopefully we don't end up with brown flowers. Okay, I think that should do it. Let's pull this off and have a look and see what we've got. These magnets are so strong. There we go. That's looking pretty cool, isn't it? Looks very orange on my screen. Calypso coral, it is orange, but it's not usually that orange. But on my screen here, it looks very bright. All right, next mask is number 3. So I've got 3. Make sure my paper's up in the corner, this is up in the corner, and the little notch should match. Right, so now this one has Calypso coral again, but I have also made some marks because they are the flower centres, and I'm going to do those in Secret Sea. Now I am probably going to need a sponge dauber, and I'm going to have to cheat because I didn't bring a Secret Sea sponge dauber out with me. So anyway, we'll see how we go. I'm going to have to cheat and use one of my other ones. Shock horror. Okay. You love the colours? Yeah, it's a lovely colour challenge, but interesting to see the different effects you get from which colour you make predominant when you do a colour challenge. You can see that one's going to be quite dark because we've got 3 layers of Calypso coral now, and all I need now is the Secret Sea. Can I do it with my, am I clever enough? These ones are okay. Sponge dauber would probably be better here. I'm not going to need Calypso coral. I'm just going to cheat, use my Calypso coral. As you can see, I'm a bit funny about I like to have a blending brush and a sponge dauber for each colour. It's just me being weird. And that's a little flower centre. Okie doke. They don't need to be too dark. That should do. Poor Calypso coral sponge dauber is now not Calypso coral anymore. It's just be washed. Okay, let's have a look and see what we've got here now. Ta-da! Doesn't actually really look like much at the moment, but it will. It'll all come together. Put that one aside because we will need that one again. And now we move on to the leaves. So the last 2 stencils, 4 and 5, are the leaves. So again, butt it all up. And we will use soft seafoam. I've got a basic beige brush because I couldn't find a soft seafoam brush. So again, I'm adulterating my brushes to wash them all. So there's nothing that's going on the flowers here, so we can just go over everything with the soft seafoam. feels a bit odd to be going over your flowers, but it's one of those oh wow moments when you pull the mask off and everything's fitted into place just nicely. So this is the first layer, and then there is another mask which adds a element of shadow into the leaves. So again, these don't have to be too dark. I think that should do. Now I'm going to need some more soft Seafoam ink to do the next layer. And there goes my tummy. I don't know if it picks up on the mic or not. Yes, I love that too, Brenda. It's quite... I have no idea why I haven't used this before. Love it. Monica, you've got this one, don't you? All right, let's have a little look. All of a sudden, it's a bouquet of flowers. Ta-da! And let's put the last one on. And look, you can hardly see that line now. So 5, number up, push everything up into the corner. Grab your magnet. And we'll apply the last layer. My poor basic beige brush is now soft Seafoam. I think soft Seafoam over basic beige isn't quite as much of an insult as Secret Seas over Calypso Coral. Whoops, there's my tummy. It's nearly lunchtime here, so I guess I can't blame it. But it's can get a little embarrassing sometimes. All right, let's see what it all looks like. Yes, and you've used it quite a bit? Yeah, I don't know why I haven't. There we go. And see, I could have probably done that without this, the image over the top, because still it's got quite a bit of definition. But we are going to play around with this just a little bit. So I'm going to take this out of here. I'm going to plonk this on top of here, and I'm going to bring in my water painter, which I just saw this morning are back in stock. Yay, we had gone out of stock of them while they sourced a new supplier. And they're back in stock. Yay, I was a bit concerned we weren't going to have a paintbrush option. But anyway, now I have a bowl of water here, as well as some water in the barrel, just because sometimes it's easier to control. And I should have some paper towel, but I don't. I'll just grab a tissue. Stab off the excess to start with. And I'm just going to, I'm not going to worry about the leaves, but I am going to blend the roses. I'm just going to give it a watercolor look. And just sort of blend those shadings a little bit together. Trying not to go outside the lines. You don't pick up on your stuff. No, it's pretty good actually, and it doesn't seem to pick up too much on the heat tool even when we use the heat tool. Must have some sort of auto background cancelling thing going on, either in the microphone or well, it's the microphone that I'm using at the moment, so, or the YouTube. And it doesn't matter if you get water. I quite like the watercolor look around the edges. I wonder if I can actually, let me play with something, because I've got a little, if I open this up, I've got a little zoom. Oh, look at that, a zoom option. Just got to remind me to zoom back out again. Right. I'll do this one. So it still keeps all that heavier shading, but it just blends everything out. My dogs are going to bark now. That'd be right. As I said the other day, they always think that someone is here with me when I'm chatting away to myself. And I think they get quite excited because normally guests mean treats. There we go. And so we've got sort of a bit of a wishy-washy watercolour effect. So you can see the watercolour lines around the edges, which is fine. Just blending that shading together. Right. Now, before I do, I'm not going to do the little flowers. I don't think they really need them. But before we do anything else, I am going to dry that because we are going to add another layer of colour over the top now that it's been watercoloured. So I'll just move all of my inky blocks out of the road. I'm going to need them again. And I'll grab my heat tool and we will just dry that. So can you hear the noise of the heat tool or does it go silent? Oh, my dog heard you say treats. Yep, my girls know that word too. Yeah. Dogs are so funny, aren't they? I think that's dry enough. I didn't put too much water on this, that didn't take long, but we are going to come back in here. Now I am going to add over the top. So I've sort of blended all the, and it will have definition once I add the outline image on, but I sort of wanted to add a different colour in there. So I'm going to find my magnet, that's what I'm looking for. Right, and we're going to bring back in this one that is very, very dirty, so we will need to clean that. Because I'm going to add a totally different colour, fresh Freesia, over the top. So I'm just cleaning all of the ink off that. Make sure it's dry, wipe it on your jeans. No, don't really. Okie doke. Thank you, Barb. It's lovely to see you here. Obviously the little notification thing's working quite well, which is great. All right, so we don't need to worry about these ones. I'm just going to put some fresh Freesia in all right over the top. So we will need more fresh Freesia ink. And you know, it probably isn't going to make that much of a difference, but as I said, purple and orange tend to make a browny colour. So it's just going to add shadow basically back in where we've blended it out and maybe tone down the orange just a fraction. We'll see. Yes, it's going quite dark, a darker shade. Just, see, it's very dirty. I thought I had picked up the fresh Freesia blending brush thing. So I just need to be careful to avoid the little flower centres. I suppose it doesn't really matter if it gets on them. I don't think fresh Freesia over Secret Sea will make too much of a difference. All right. Let's have a little look now. Oh, magnet. Right. There we go. So we've added some of that depth back in there, but we've still got the watercolory look. And it's not purple, but it's added, mixed with the orange and made a darker Cajun Craze type shade, really. All right, next we're going to add our big image over the top. Now I'm going to do this in my Stamparatus, just because. Now you do have to be careful with this one. It's big. And it's got some delicate little bits that you don't want to tear. So just be a little careful when you're pulling it off. It sticks really well because it's so big. Just work around it gently. Get it off the block without doing any damage to it. Alright, now I'm not going to try and fit it on exactly here. I'm actually going to move it in a little bit. Give me a little bit of space. Like that. So I'm just laying the stamp over the image. So we know it needs to be about there. Pull it off. And we're going to stamp onto that polypropylene sheet that I pulled out earlier. So I'm sure that if you followed me in the past, you know that I use this little polypropylene sheet as like a index guide, the same way that we used to use the index guide in the old stamp positioning tool, the Stampin' Up jig. Who remembers that? Alright, so it's stuck nicely on there. So I'm now going to stamp with Secret C onto the index imaging sheet. Messy, doesn't need to be perfect, it does sort of need to be not quite that messy. She's a tissue that I had out earlier. Right, and we'll stamp down onto that sheet. So now, all that extra ink, I'll be able to slide this in underneath. Yes, I've got my Stampin' Up jig somewhere too, Monica. You must be like me. Not much gets thrown away. Much to my poor husband's distress. Okay, so what I'm doing, if you can see, is I'm lining the image up underneath that so that it fits on there perfectly. Because if I try and do it through the block, I will inevitably get it wrong. And it will annoy me. So I've just lined that up so it fits on there perfectly, and you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. So now I'm going to match this corner of my polypropylene sheet up and back into the corner of here, because then I know where this is going to stamp. And it doesn't matter that this is crooked. That is just the nature of stamp positioning. Grab my magnet, make sure I've still got that in the right spot. Looks pretty good, good enough. And I'm going to pop my magnet down just to hold that card so it doesn't move. And then we'll ink this up again. A little more carefully this time. I think I got it all. Bring this over, and I do have one of those pressy things somewhere, but I have no idea where it is. Let's bring in a block. Make sure I get it, because that watercolour paper's gone a little bit buckled with the heat tool. Let's see now, very carefully lift it up in case we need to stamp it again. And I think I will, just a little bit here. So very careful to not move anything, just mainly in there. So let's pull this over again, a little bit more pressure. And ta-da, there we go. You have one too, Brenda? Yeah. Wow, we're showing our stamping age now, aren't we? Okay. So that is our final image. I will just close this up, and I promise I will clean it up later, but we'll get it out of the road. And we can go ahead and die cut this now, because the set of dies has a fabulous large die that will cut the whole thing out. Now it does have a smaller die as well. If you wanted to like paper towel this, you could, I think. This goes on here somewhere and cuts out, I think it cuts out the one rose, yes. So you can, it doesn't always have to be this super huge image. You can just cut one out with some leaves, or you could do two and just colour that one in and then cut it out and pop it up on top and give you a 3D type effect. But I'm going to just do the one. Close this up. Grab some of my little tapey stuff to hold this in place. I've just got some repositionable tape. just to make sure that it stays in place when I move it over to the, because it's a big one, I'm going to do 2 bits. Right, let's pop this in our little die cut machine. I've only got the large one, so I'll just keep it off to the side here. Run it through. Looks like it's all cut. And ta-da! And you can hardly see that line that was in the paper, which is good. Now I've got all this leftover cardstock, so don't throw that away. We'll use that in a minute. So that's going to be our main piece. So that's going to go onto these bits here in the same way the other one was. And missing some bits. I'm not sure what I did with them. Never mind. So now what else are we going to do? I want to add in this one here, I did have some foliage and it's a lot. So this time I'm going to use one of the different dies out of that set. There is a smaller, so this was the die that I used last time. It's a bigger, wider leaf. This time I'm going to use the smallest little leaf and see if it will make a different effect on here. So I'm going to do that out of Secret Sea, but I'm going to tone it down by watercolouring a piece of this. So we'll grab our Secret Sea block and my water painter. Grab a little bit of water and we'll just do a background piece. So I'm going to put the water down first, and we'll pick up some ink and just zhuzh it on here. This is going to give you a sort of a watered down Secret Sea look, quite textured. Now, will that be enough? Might need another little bit. Let's do another bit down over here. And so this is what I'll die cut my little leaves out of. Do. Now I need to dry that before I try and die cut anything. So I'll just dry that with my heat tool. Now, I guess I should remember to zoom out. I forget where we are on the page. I think that should be dry enough. If you don't have it dry enough, it just sort of rips the paper rather than die cuts. I'm just going to come out just a fraction while I remember. Oh, I'm liking this little new zoom thing. So I'll go ahead and die cut a few of this leaf now out of the watercoloured piece. So I'll show you what they look like. Take your pick tool. So there, this is going to be Secret Sea, but just sort of a more muted version, so they're not quite so harsh in the background. Let's do a couple more. I'm not sure how many I'm going to need, but I'll just keep going. There's another one. Enough space here. Actually, let me see if I can squeeze these in a little bit tighter. So bear with me while I die cut. Do a few while I'm over here. Will that one fit in there? I think so. And a couple more. Let's see if I can get a couple more out of this piece. Don't want to have to do another lot of watercolouring. Or might just fit one there. I think I might just get enough for it. Okay, so we've got a few leaves to play with. We probably might not need all of those, but we'll see what happens. So let's put this together. Let's bring in all our background bits and our flowers, and we'll go ahead and glue this one onto here. Now, where's my glue? That's another point. Do I have any glue here? Or I do. I'm going to have to use my let me pull this one out. I haven't got any in the green glue bottle, so I'll use, hopefully this works. I've got a glue press. It's been sitting here open for a while. Maybe it won't work. Let's see. Maybe not. Maybe I'll have to go and find some liquid glue. See if I can unclog this quickly. Right, see if that worked. Don't you hate it when you get all the way out here? And my issue is that I'm mic'd up, so if I run away I have to be careful with the microphone. There's a lot of glue. All right. Actually, I'm going to turn this around because I can see I've got a little mark, so I'll put the little mark down towards the bottom where it'll get covered. Sit that in the middle there. And then I'm going to put this onto here with dimensionals. Let's see what I've got here. And I think I will use the edges. So I've got a sheet of dimensionals, and I'm just going to use the edges because it's a bit of a big piece. Oops. Oh, I've got an extra one on there. A little bit of extra reinforcement. Let's put this one off. Snip it. I do barb, but I put the liquid glue in it that I get from Stampin' Up, and it's a different feel. It seems to be quite runny at the moment, so I guess heat will play a factor in that. It's quite warm in here because we've got a fire going. But yeah, I don't mind it. It's a little easier to get a finer, usually. I have said you saw that big mess of glue I had. It's a little easier to get it a little bit finer. And I do have the small little bottles with the fine tip as well. But I just find that works a little easier for me with my wrists. And I can get a slightly more, it's not really finer, but I can get a slightly different direction, different strength of glue down onto my project. I don't mind all these massive amounts of dimensionals. This is not going anywhere. Yeah, so it takes a few bottles of glue to fill it. Right, now this one had to go down in the bottom because it had the just get this nice and straight, she says, with the wonky eyes. There we go. All right, so that's down. Now we can go ahead and put this down, and I am going to just glue this down on straight, but we will need to tuck those little flowers in first, not flowers, leaves. So I think we'll just pop them around the place to cover over that glue smudge there, that ink smudge. I've got a few too many leaves. That's all right. We can put some on the inside later. I can just pop in there. That's a little bit more subtle than the bigger leaves, so let's just pop those on. And what's the best way to do that? I might just use a little bit of glue. You don't need much glue, so I'm just using a tiny bit, and we'll just tuck that in behind. If you don't like your leaves sticking up, then by all means glue them all down. Might mind a little bit of fluff. Then these ones down the bottom. Glue. And then this one up here. Okay, so now we can pop the flowers down over the top, and again I'm just going to use some liquid glue. I'm not going to go right to the edges because some of the edges stick off the page. This one we can do, it's a bit smaller. And now where did we have it? Something like that. Now you can stick some dimensionals in behind here if you wanted to, just in underneath. I may do that, I'm not sure yet. I'll have a look once I get my sentiment down. So sentiment wise, I've got some Secret C. Now is that going to be, oh no, that should be alright I think. We'll use Secret C. So I'm going to use the same one I used on the other card, which is Grateful for You. Grab a block. I'm going to white emboss it. So I just need my embossing stuff, which of course is on the other table. Let me undo my microphone for a minute. And by undo I mean take it out of my pocket, which is where all the excess cord is. Right, got my embossing supplies. So I'm going to use white powder. I've got my white powder in a little dish. Versamark and the embossing buddy. Swipe that over. Ink up the stamp. Yeah, as normal. I'll do 2 just in case I muck one up. Dip it in here. Give it a tap off. Just move this out of the road. This is why I end up in such a mess, because I'll just move this out of the road. Now, I seem to have a lot of little white dots here, but they're not close to the words, so we should be fine. I'm going to emboss those. Now, I should be using the tweezers. Oh, thank you, Brenda. Not really, you know. It's the tools that make it so easy. I think I've got it all. All of my dimensional backs just flew off the table all over the floor. Oh, well. That's what after's for, cleaning up. Yeah, they seem good. I'll just grab my scissors and I'm going to fussy cut one of those. Which one is the better? Much of a muchness, really. Right, so let's just cut the bottom straight and then we'll just wriggledy, wriggledy, wriggledy. The edge, top of the T. There we go. Grateful for you. Now that's going to go on here. Somewhere around about there. Now, on the other one, I did put a piece of twine. So I've got white twine here. And I think the white should look all right with this too. I think if I'd used the Secret Sea ribbon, it might be too much. So we'll just do a little loopy bow. This is way too much twine. Do not do this. Way too much twine. I'm going to make it smaller so I can save a bit. Okay, that's about right. Okay, I'll just cut this bit off. Put that up there with that bit. Right, now this is going to go up on dimensionals. And the bow is just going to sit in behind, like that. So what I might do is just put a little glue dot behind that bow just to hold that in place there. It's not quite straight, is it? Make that a bit smaller. Grab a little dimensional, not dimensional, glue dot. Some mini dimensionals on the back of this, or we can use a big one in the middle, but then it's going to sit over. I might just I might skip the middle because that's going to sit over the top of the knot and go funny, so I'm just going to put a little one on either side, or a little couple on either side. Over here, and we'll just bring one in here. And, oh, we where's the middle going to sit? One up here. Make sure it's straight. And then I will trim that off just a fraction more. And we will add some embellishments. Now I did bring out a couple of different ones. I used, you can hardly see the embellishments on this one because I wanted to stay quite soft. So they're the iridescent foil gems. But I did bring out these low profile sparkle dots, which do have some, oh yes, I think we'll use those. The little Secret Sea ones in there, so we'll use those. Where's my other, take a pick tool with the, we'll pop a couple of these around the place. One up in under there. Am I off the page? Yes, I'm off the page. Pop one up under there, and we'll put a couple of little small ones around the place. Thank you, Monica. Hello, Sharon. How are you? Well, that's no good. Right, we'll pop one up here as well. I think it only needs 3. I think I put a lot more on the other one, but I think this one only needs just the 3. Just that, you know. We should put one in here. No, leave it, Cheryl. Leave it. Leave it alone. Stop. All right. So now I'm not going to do the inside now. I'll do that later, but I will show you what I did on the other card. I think we're over the hour. So this is that one that I just made, and then this was the one that I did the other day. So same color challenge, same colors, just a totally different look. Yeah, I did go a bit overboard with the little thingies on that one. And I may add one in here and think about another one somewhere else down here somewhere. I'll see. But anyway, that's the 2 cards for today. So totally different look, same color challenge. Isn't that amazing? Let me come back to you, face to face. There we go. Yeah, Sharon, even though it's orange, you don't mind them. So this is a Sharon card. This is a not Sharon card. But isn't the, I mean, actually, even if you did the pinky flowers over the top of the, so did the reverse, do pink flowers and orange. Oh, now I'd like to try that. And the orange little ones. That would still be lovely and give you a different look. So if you are a not totally orange girl, then yeah, that would still work. So thank you, ladies. Thank you for sticking with me all the way through. And yeah, if you want to put a card up in the challenge, the link should be in below the video, or even just go over and have a look what everyone else has done, because all of the versions are totally different depending on how people use their inks or their paper. It's always so lovely to see all of the different versions. Thank you very much. It's been lovely crafting with you, and I will see you next week, either on Wednesday or maybe Thursday. Who knows? We'll see. All right. Thanks, ladies. Bye.